In this video I'm going to demonstrate and explain the different options you've got available to you when setting up a Google account for your students. So the first option that you've got available is by setting up one account for your class for all students to use. It's a very simple process to go through, and I'm just going to walk you through those steps now. So imagine that I go to google.com like I have here, I click on sign in, and in order to sign into this Google account for our students, you as a teacher will first of all need to set up an account that they can use. So as a teacher, click on create an account for free, and you're just going to fill in these credentials for your class account. There is one important step that you need to do prior to going through this, and that is that you will need to actually create an email address that all of your students can use to log into this Google account. What I did for my classes is that I got in touch with our IT technician at school and got him to set up an email address on our school's email server for each class that I teach. It was a very simple process, I believe, for him to do. I wasn't able to do it because I don't have access to our client server for the email, and I assume you don't as well. So it might just be worth speaking to the technician and asking if he or she can set up for you an email address for your class on your school's email server. So once you've got that, you need to type that email address into this field. Choose a nice simple password that the students will be able to remember and type in, but it needs to have strength as well, and then fill in the rest of the credentials here. Once you've actually created that account, I'm just going to go back to google.com. So you've gone through all of the steps. It'll ask you to click on an activation email to authorize the account, and once you've done that, you'll be able to click on sign in, and then you'll be able to enter in your credentials to sign into the account. So like I said, I've already set up an account for several of my classes at the school I work at. So for example, for my year 5 class, we have this username, dbs5 at Dubai British School.ae. We then have a password, a nice simple one for us all to remember. However, it does have strength in it as well. We use capital letters and different characters. So once you've done that, once you've created that account, give that username and password out to all of the students in your class. They can then type them into the Google sign in as well as you. Press on sign in, and then all users or all students will be signed into that one account. From now that they have an account, they can use many of the Google features such as Google Docs. They can use Google Maps, which we've used in some of the other units created. And the benefit of this is that it's very simple for them to log on. If one student forgets the username and password, it's not very difficult for you to manage that, because there is only one username and password that you have to then give them if they've forgotten. The drawbacks of setting up one account for all the students is that if they do something on this account, then every student that logs into this account has access to it. What I mean by that is, let's say John, Sarah and Simon all create a document under the DBS5 account. They will all appear here, and each of those 3 students can then see each other's document and delete each other's document as well. So that is a risk of creating one account for all students. However, as you can imagine, it does have benefits as well. So that's one option you have available to you, to create one class account for everyone to use. The other option that you have, I'm just going to sign out of this one, is to set up a Google Apps account, and there are many schools in the world that are using this now. If I just go to google.com and type in Google Apps for Education, the top link that we come to is a link to and about Google Apps. So if I just click on this, you can see that Google Apps promotes itself as saying 61 of the top 100 schools are using Google Apps. I'll take you through the benefits of using this through this demonstration, and I'll also take you through the steps later on of how to actually set up your Google Apps. So to start with, I'm just going to demonstrate to you why our school use Google Apps. So Basically, Google Apps is a collection of, it's a management system that allows you as a teacher or a technician or as an administrator at your school to manage, set up new accounts for students at your school, or new Google accounts for students at your school. However, these Google accounts are basically linked to your school. So it's not like setting up a normal Google account where students can manage it themselves and do whatever they want with that account. You as a school will have the management, the back end of that, to block a student's account, restrict a student accounts to certain applications, etc., etc. So it's a full management system for a Google account. So if I just show you my school's Google account, or Google Apps account, there's two ways of getting to it. This is the way that I use: google.com/a/dbs.ae. Now, when I walk you through the steps of how to set a Google Apps account up, you'll notice that you are required to have a school website address. In fact, you're actually required to have a school domain name. So at our school, you can access our website by going to dubaibritishschool.ae. However, what we've also done is we've purchased an extra domain called dbs.ae, and then we've applied that domain to our Google Apps account. So this is like logging into Google Apps via the dbs.ae domain. So here we are. I've got the screen to log in. I type in my credentials and my password and sign in. And this is the back end, this is the management system of our Google Apps account. I'm an administrator at our school, so I can create new student accounts, create new staff accounts, set up restrictions, set up privileges, etc., etc. The first thing I'll show you is the organization and users. Now I'm going to click on this, but then I'm going to blank out the children's names that appear on the screen. So you can see that I've just used a sticky note to cover up the students' names and email addresses. But what this is a screen that shows all of the students' accounts. We can create new user accounts if a new student comes to the school. We can do more actions. We can select a particular student and reset their password if they've forgotten it. We can delete students. There's lots of settings where you can restrict students from accessing certain applications, etc., etc. We've also got groups, and again I'm just going to click on that and then blank it out so you don't see our groups. So at our school we have two groups. We have a teacher group, should I say a staff group, and a student group, and you can set certain privileges for each of those groups. So teachers might be able to access more applications than the students, and that's really useful because you can then assign particular students to different groups. I'll just demonstrate a few other things that I can do. So I'm just going to click on this settings button, and you can see from here that I can change all the settings that I've got for Google Calendar, Google Contacts, Google Docs, Google Email, Google Mobile, Google Sites. So yeah, another thing to mention is that once you've set an account up for a student or a teacher, they will then have their own personal email address with a Google Apps extension. So it will be, for example, mwood@dbs.ae, but it'll all be filtered through Google. So you could have your whole school email for everyone in the school filtered through your Google Apps rather than having it in Outlook or something like that. Something else that I can show you is on organization and users. Under the services tab, you have all these different applications available to you that you can switch on or off. So there's lots and lots of different applications. We've got Google News, Google Places, Google Reader, Google Analytics. We've got lots of things that we can activate or deactivate. So this has some fantastic advantages for setting it up in your school. So going back to how we do that, if I go back here to the Google Apps for Education, I won't be able to walk you through all of the steps because I've already set up an account for our school. However, if you go to google.com/apps/ well, I've had to go through the International English Education, but remember the way we got to it is we just typed in in our Google search, Google Apps for Education. So if you go to this web page, click on the Get Apps Today, and there are several steps that you can go through depending on what you want to do with Google Apps and how you are set up and established as a school. So option 1, sign up online. Using our online application, you can set up your domain with Google Apps for Education and start your integration of provisioning accounts right away. It says here, look, that in order for this to happen, you must own or manage a domain for your school. So that's what I was talking about earlier, that we purchased dbs.ae so that we can attach that to our Google Apps. If you don't want to dive straight in, you can access option 2, which is to sign up and have someone from the sales team of Google contacted you, or if you lack the technical skills that at stages are required, then you can go for option 3 and find a partner to help you walk through the steps of setting up your Google Apps account. Again, so it's up to you really of which step you go through. If you wanted to go for option 1, you click on sign up now, and you would enter your domain name here. So for example, I would enter dbs.ae, continue the sign up process, and then it just walks you through the steps that you need to follow. At stages it can get quite technical depending on whether you've already got your domain set up and a few other things. So if you really are struggling with this, I would suggest going for option 3 and having a partner to support you with this. But again, hopefully you can see from this tutorial or this video that there are 2 options you have in setting up a Google account for the students in your class. You can set up a class account where each student in the class accesses the Google Apps through one username and password, or you can register, set up and install Google Apps for Education, where each student can then have their own username and password.